This is Sky News at 12, our top stories. Keep on going, the Conservative minister's message to Theresa May as she's urged to hold Boris Johnson to his word over Brexit. Rallying round the flag, the protesters who want to show Catalonia isn't united over independence. Thousands of people are on the streets this lunchtime. We'll have the very latest from there. Plus, the latest hurricane to hit America brings torrential rain, flooding and strong winds. Police release the man detained after a car crashed into pedestrians outside London's Natural History Museum. And closer to the title, Lewis Hamilton wins the Japanese Grand Prix. A very good afternoon to you. Theresa May will keep on going, one cabinet minister told Sky News today, as her party intensified the fight to secure her position. The Prime Minister was urged to hold the man seen as her potential replacement, Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, to his pledge backing her stance on Brexit. And the Culture Secretary, Karen Bradley, told Sky News only a small minority of MPs were looking for her to move on.
She is as resilient as anybody. You saw that on Wednesday.
To Westminster now, and our political correspondent Tom Rayner. Tom, she's under mounting pressure. I suppose the question everyone wants to know the answer to is, after all his meddling, is it finally time for Boris Johnson to go?
Well, certainly there's a lot of discussion about reshuffle today. And
we're going to take you to Barcelona now, where another huge rally is taking place, this time in support of Spanish unity. Tens of thousands of people are taking part in that march. It's been organised by Spain's ruling People's Party, and the Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy warned last night that he could suspend Catalonia's self-governing status if the region declares independence.
La clave es volver y hacerlo pronto a la legalidad.
We have to return to legality. Spain will continue to be Spain, and it will continue being Spain for a long time.
Well, our Europe correspondent Michelle Clifford joins us now from Barcelona. And Michelle, shocking scenes of violence there last weekend. What's the atmosphere like today?
Well, it's peaceful. There are a lot of police around, as you would expect. But people's passions here today are as strong as the passions last week. The people's governance in this region, and some of them have told me over this weekend, if autonomy was suspended, that would put them in the direction of supporting independence. So it's a very dangerous week politically. Indeed, Michelle, thank you. Hurricane Nate, which brought torrential rain and flooding to the US Gulf Coast, has been downgraded to a tropical storm. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama and parts of Florida all issued warning and evacuation orders amid fears of rapidly rising sea waters. Biloxi, Mississippi has seen serious flooding and power outages too. Ian Woods has this report.
With Hurricane Nate making landfall in Biloxi, Mississippi, 10 inches of rain in places. Ian Woods at Sky News.
A man arrested after a car collided with pedestrians in London yesterday has been released under investigation. 11 people were injured when the car mounted the pavement outside the Natural History Museum. Police say the crash wasn't terror-related but have appealed for witnesses. Well, a statement released today said, because of where this collision occurred and the number of pedestrians involved, I fully appreciate the concern and alarm this incident has caused. And they go on to say inquiries have established that this incident is not terrorist related, and I'd like to thank those who came to assist the injured. Thankfully, there are no serious injuries, with the majority now discharged from hospital. We're grateful for the patience of those in and around the area following the disruption caused. And they go on to say, we would ask anybody who saw what happened or who have any pictures or moving footage that could help us gain a greater understanding of what happened to please get in touch with us. A recovery operation is underway after a ship ran aground off the Kent coast. A 75-metre cargo vessel dragged anchor near Margate Harbour in the early hours of Sunday morning. The 6 crew are unharmed, and according to the Coast Guard, the risk of pollution is very low. An attempt to refloat the ship will be made at high tide this afternoon. A tanker explosion near a gas depot in Ghana on Saturday evening has killed at least 6 people and injured 35 others. The explosion in the capital, Accra, sent a giant fireball into the air, forcing some residents to leave their homes. The initial fire is largely under control, but fire services are still working to control a secondary explosion. One of Harvey Weinstein's lawyers says she will no longer represent the movie producer. The decision comes after allegations of sexual harassment made against him in the New York Times. Attorney Lisa Bloom has represented victims of sexual harassment in the past and has since drawn criticism for her work with him. President Trump was asked about the allegations last night.
I've known Harvey Weinstein for a long time. I'm not at all surprised to see it.
Well, earlier on this year, Prince Harry spoke of how he wanted to smash the stigma around mental health. Today, he joins his brother and sister-in-law, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, in launching a £2 million fund to improve the nation's mental health using technology. Our correspondent Gina Miller has this report.
Heads Together was a campaign that developed its own momentum. It makes it clear that they're in this for the long run.
See, he goes early.
Rhiannon Mills, Sky News.
You're watching Sky News. Coming up, as a new national police hub is set up to track down online trolls, we'll be speaking to one prominent victim of hate crime.
Free coffee at Smith's Toy Superstores.
Welcome back. Let's cross over now to Gail and find out what's coming up in the sport.
In the sport at 2:45, Lewis Hamilton extends his lead in the 12:45.
Thanks, Gail. Now, a new national police hub is being set up to help track down trolls who are responsible for online hate crime and who post abusive content on social media. There was an increase in these types of reports after the EU referendum last June and earlier this year around the time of terrorist attacks in the UK. The new hub will also aim to improve the support given to victims and is hoping to open before the end of the year. Well, one very public victim of internet trolling is Gina Miller, the anti-Brexit campaigner. She's in central London for us now. Thanks for your time this afternoon. Most of our viewers will be aware that you brought the case against the government over its authority to implement Brexit without approval from Parliament. What kind of online abuse did you suffer as a result of that?
Hello. The abuse online was anything from name-calling, which I think you just have to turn a blind eye to threats of violence against myself, my children, my family, rape allegations, all sorts of crimes you can think of. But one of the things I want to stress is it wasn't just online. It was offline. It was through emails, phone calls, and it's got to be about the message, not the medium. So I'm slightly worried about this announcement today.
Do you think it goes far enough? What are your concerns?
First of all, I don't think it's needed. That's simply because I'm looked after very effectively by police units already who need more resourcing. And why are they letting the social media platforms and companies off the hook? This sort of hub should be industry-led by those social media companies, should be financed by them, and actually they should be providing the algorithms and the technology to ensure that this is stopped. Why are they being let off the hook? Our government should be spending sums of money on other parts of the police force.
Clearly people say things online that they would never say to people in public. You mentioned social media companies there, but do the government need to do more to enforce laws?
No, I don't think they do, because it's already there. We already have the Public Order Act, we have the Malicious Communications Act. Inciting sexual and racial violence are already criminal offences, already crimes. So it's about enforcing them. It's not about the message, it's not about the medium, it's a message. It's already there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. And the CPS this August have already come out and said, on the back of a case that I was involved in, that they are going to treat offline and online the same. So there is actually, this is posturing. I don't think this will end up making a real difference.
Can we talk about Brexit now? Because, of course, you've been a big campaigner of that. This weekend, we've heard how the EU is toughening its stance on this transition period that we've heard about. What impact do you think that's going to have?
I'm very fearful that both sides have pushed their heels in too much on this. But it shouldn't be a surprise. You know, the EU have already said from day one that we can't do phase 2 until we sort out phase 1. So a transitional period would only be granted, from what I've read and seen, if we have an idea of what the deal is. But I really wished that we had gone down the route of a cross-party negotiating team that took the politics out of this and really ensured we are going for the best deal. And I think time is running out. I'm very fearful of what's happening.
The government is planning, we hear, to allocate billions in case no deal is reached. Do you think that is likely to happen?
I find this money tree idea of where they're going to find all this money extraordinary, because the amount of money they would need to do this is much more than 2 billion, and also it's about time as well. How long will it take to put in the infrastructure to replace what we've got in place now? And they're not being honest enough, in my opinion, about that. But this idea that they can't find money for anything else and suddenly will find money for another 2 billion plus the 1 billion they're giving to DUP, where is all this money coming from? I don't believe that they can execute it without us ordinary people paying a huge price.
And reports today that Theresa May has been given legal advice that the government could halt the Brexit process at any time. But of course, the country has voted, and this was a democratic decision.
I think it is absolutely a democratic decision, and we should be, all politicians at all sides, should be negotiating for the best deal we could get, and after that they should be debating that in Parliament. But the most irresponsible thing Mrs May did was to trigger Article 50 without any thought of planning or executing this. And that's what we're seeing. They're trying to make up time for not having a plan. And I'm very, very worried that we're just going to reach the end of December, no plan, no deal, and we just crash out.
We've heard very public discussions with Europe over Brexit, but it also seems to be a negotiation with her own ministers.
The whole thing is a shambles, and I think all sides, it's disgraceful that they haven't been more decisive and they haven't come together. A cross-party committee could have done this much better than what's happened at the moment. This is still about internal politics. It's not about our country.
Gina Miller, thanks for your time. Let's take a look at the weather now, shall we?
Ensuring brighter days ahead. Blue Insurance Car Insurance. Proud sponsors of Sky News Weather.
I'm pleased to say today is the better day of the weekend, largely dry with bright or sunny spells for many and light winds, but there will be some showers around too. Western parts of Britain, Northern Ireland and the Republic will be cloudier with some patchy rain and showers, especially in western Scotland. The best of the afternoon sunshine will be across southern and eastern parts of England, where it will feel pretty warm given the lighter winds. Skies will be largely cloudy in the north and west overnight, with patchy rain or drizzle. It'll stay largely dry in the east, with a few clear spells and the odd fog patch. We're in for another messy and often cloudy day on Monday, I'm afraid, with outbreaks of light drizzly rain, mainly over western hills. It'll turn pretty wet and windy from the northwest later on.
Blue Insurance Car Insurance. Proud sponsors of Sky News Weather.
You're watching Sky News. Coming up, as Scotland's First Minister insists her party is in a very strong position despite underperforming at the election. We'll be live at the SNP conference. You're watching Sky News, the top stories. Theresa May will keep on going, one cabinet minister told Sky News today. The Culture Secretary Karen Bradley told Sky News fewer than 10% of MPs were looking for her to resign. Police say a 47-year-old man arrested after a car hit pedestrians outside London's Natural History Museum yesterday has been released under investigation. Tens of thousands of people are taking part in a huge rally in Barcelona in support of Spanish unity. The SNP is gathering for its three-day conference in Glasgow later today amid increased doubts over the prospect of a second independence referendum. An eve of conference poll by YouGov for the Times suggests that Nicola Sturgeon's party will lose its pro-independence majority in Holyrood at the next Scottish parliamentary elections. That'll undermine any effort to push for a referendum. Our correspondent James Matthews has this report.
What is the mood inside the Scottish independence movement? Use Sky News, Edinburgh.
Well, let's bring in our chief political correspondent, John Craig, now, who's at the SNP conference in Glasgow. And John, if they're not going to be speaking about independence, what's on the agenda?
Well, in interviews today, both Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, and Mike Russell, the Brexit Minister in the Scottish Government, have been saying that Brexit is the more urgent priority. On that note, you sound a bit like Donald Trump there. Anyway, that Brexit might be top priority for the Scottish Government, but these delegates here, you heard what they said, independence is what they want to hear about.
OK, thanks very much. Well, let's go live now to somewhere else where independence is even higher on the political agenda than Scotland. Our Europe correspondent Michelle Clifford joins us now from Barcelona. Michelle, what are the scenes like there today? Because, of course, last weekend, such extreme violence.
Yeah, and everybody wanted to avoid anything like that today. There was a significant police presence and there is a huge crowd. They call themselves the silent majority. There was meant to be a session tomorrow to discuss independence, possibly declare it. That was ordered to be suspended by the Constitutional Court. Some parliamentarians still want that to go ahead. The following day, the Catalonian leader will be here and everybody's waiting to hear what his next move will be.
OK, thanks, Michelle. You're watching Sky News. Coming up in the sport, how this man became Great Britain's most successful gymnast at a World Championships. Welcome back. Time now to take a look at the sport.
This sports bulletin is brought to you by Vitality.
Buongiorno. Buongiorno.
For life insurance that rewards healthy living.
Lewis Hamilton has taken a major step towards a fourth world title with victory at the Japanese Grand Prix. The crawler has got world titles back on his mind after beating Ricky Burns in the battle of two former world champions. There's plenty more Formula One reaction now on Sky Sports News, and we're back in just under half an hour.
For life insurance that rewards healthy living, Vitality.
Let's take a look at the weather now.
From the clear blue sky of a Doha morning to the fresh autumn breeze in the city of love.
Today is the better day of the weekend, largely dry with bright or sunny spells for many and light winds, but there will be some showers around. Western parts of Britain, Northern Ireland and the Republic will be cloudier with some patchy rain and showers, especially in western Scotland. The best of the afternoon sunshine will be across southern and eastern parts of England, where it'll feel pretty warm given the lighter winds. Skies will be largely cloudy in the north and west overnight.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
You're watching Sky News. Coming up at Keep On Going, the Conservative minister's message to Theresa May as she's urged to hold Boris Johnson to his word over Brexit. We'll have the very latest on that coming up after this short break.